TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. A major terror attack has been successfully foiled in Tel Aviv as Israel intensifies its war on terror. Mossad Director David Barnea concludes his trip to the United States, where U.S. officials reassure him of their resolve to thwart Tehran's nuclear aspirations. Despite two reports by the International Atomic Energy Agency raising the alarm over Iran's nuclear advances, the Biden administration remains eager to revitalize the 2015 nuclear agreement. Israel is intensifying its war on terror as an uptick in attacks has been clearly recorded. Israeli defense establishment officials warned that the situation in the West Bank sectors of Judea and Samaria was volatile and that there are concerns that intensified terrorism will lead to comprehensive escalation in violence. Meanwhile, once Israeli civilians sustained light injuries yesterday when Palestinian terrorists opened fire at two Israeli vehicles in the Hawara area in Samaria. The injured man was taken to Beilinson Hospital in Petah Tikva, and the IDF has launched a manhunt after the suspected terrorists. Separately, as part of Operation Wavebreaker, IDF, ISA or Shin Bet, and Border Police Special Operations units conducted counter-terrorism activity throughout the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria. And while a number of violent clashes and one shooting exchange incident were cited, no injuries were reported among the IDF forces, and 5 terror operatives were successfully apprehended. Turning to the central city of Jaffa, where a deadly terror attack has been averted. A 20-year-old Palestinian resident of Nablus, who entered Israel illegally, raised a suspicion of 2 police officers of the Special Patrol Unit Yassam, who stopped the suspected terrorist for questioning. While searching his belongings, a semi-automatic gun and an improvised explosive device were found.
במסגרת היערכות הבט"ש של תחנת יפו בשיתוף פעולה עם יס"מ תל אביב, נערכנו פה לקראת חגי תשרי, כפי שאתם רואים את גזרת השעון מאחוריי. צוות יס"מ היום בצהריים ביצע בדיקה של חשוד, הוברר שהוא תושב שטחים, בכליו נתפס רובה מסוג קרלו וחשד למטען. אנחנו כרגע מטפלים בזירה.
During the subsequent interrogation of the terrorist who previously spent 4 months in Israeli prison after being caught carrying a knife on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, he once again admitted to planning to commit a terror attack in a crowded place in Tel Aviv. Separately, as part of the ongoing investigation, a number of suspects have been detained on allegations of transporting the terrorist to Jaffa. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz announced the intensification of activities against terror elements throughout the West Bank and beyond. Speaking at a special commendation ceremony for 30 IDF officers who excelled in their line of duty, Jerusalem's top defense official further pledged to root out terror wherever it may rear its ugly head.
ורק בשבוע האחרון נמנעו מספר ניסיונות לפגע באזרחי ישראל מגזרת יהודה ושומרון. זו הזדמנות טובה לברך את שוטרי היס"מ ומשטרת ישראל שמנעו היום את הפיגוע בתל אביב. לכן, באמצעות המפקדים שלנו, אנחנו נמשיך ונגביר את הפעילות הממוקדת מול הטרור באיו"ש ובכל מקום, בצירים, בתפר, בעומק השטח ככל שידרש. אנו נפרוס כוחות ואמצעים נוספים, נחזק שיתופי הפעולה בין ארגוני הביטחון, נמשיך ונאיץ את בניית מכשול התפר. המסר שלנו לאויבינו ולעולם כולו פשוט. בכל מקום שבו יהיה טרור שלא יטופל, אנחנו נטפל בו. זו חובתנו, זו המשימה שלנו.
At a separate commendation ceremony, this one for the Israeli security agency Shin Bet, Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid praised the members of the Special Intelligence Organization for their important work in protecting the state of Israel and its peoples.
השב"כ סיכל מתחילת השנה מאות פיגועים. פיגועי ירי, מטענים, התאבדויות, חטיפה, אתם לא עובדים מול מציאות סטטית, אתם עובדים מול מציאות משתנה. מה שנמצא מולנו היום זו שורה של זירות מאוד שונות אחת מהשנייה ושורה של אתגרים מאוד שונים אחד מהשני. מה שהשב"כ עושה בג'נין ושכם שונה מאוד ממה שהוא עושה בסייבר. והאיסוף שהוא עושה במדינות רחוקות שונה מאוד ממה שהוא עושה בעזה, והמודיעין המסכל שמופעל מול מעצמות זרות שונה מאוד מפיקוד על מבצעים מורכבים של הבטחת אישים. מבצע כמו עלות השחר. 3 ימים קצרים, מדויקים, קטלניים, שבו סיפקתם מודיעין איכותי שהביא לסיכולם של רבי מחבלים של הג'יהאד האסלאמי, הוא תוצר של שנים של הכנה ושל בניית מודיעין אנושי וטכנולוגי ושל ההבנה העמוקה שאתם מביאים לשולחן גם על הזירה וגם על השחקנים השונים. ואני לא היחיד שמתפעל מזה. ארגוני מודיעין מהעולם מגיעים הנה באופן קבוע ללמוד מהשב"כ הישראלי איך נלחמים מול היקפי טרור ואיומים שאף מדינה מערבית לא מתמודדת איתם.
Meanwhile, Mossad Director David Barnea updated Prime Minister Yair Lapid on his security and diplomatic meetings in the United States. Mossad Director Barnea concluded his round of meetings in the U.S. yesterday, prior to which he met with various senior American officials, including the heads of the CIA and the FBI, the National Security Advisor, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and additional senior administration officials at the State Department. During the meetings, the director of the Mossad presented sensitive intelligence materials and emphasized that Israel will not be standing idly by while Iran continues to deceive the world. The director of the Mossad heard from his counterparts that the U.S. remains committed to the security of the State of Israel. Moreover, the Americans emphasized that they will not allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon and that they will continue to act in full cooperation with the State of Israel with regard to regional issues in the Middle East. Meanwhile, at the U.S. State Department, Deputy Spokesman Patel was asked to corroborate Israeli reports regarding President Joe Biden, reassuring Prime Minister Yair Lapid that a nuclear deal with Iran is currently off the table.
Part of this diplomatic process is regular engagement with our allies and partners, including our allies in Israel. And as we've said before, late last week, Iran's response did not put us in a position to close a deal. We continue to work through that process. We're reviewing Iran's response, and we hope to have an update soon. But this is something that we're going to continue to pursue because we continue to believe and affirm that a mutual return to compliance of the JCPOA continues to be not only in the national security interest of this country, it's an important step to contain Iran's nuclear program, and it's an important step for regional stability as well.
Meanwhile, ahead of an International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors meeting, which is scheduled for next week, the agency's Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi circulated 2 reports among member states of the board, in which he emphasized that the agency is not in a position to provide assurance that Iran's nuclear program is exclusively peaceful. Moreover, one of the reports also raises the alarm over the Islamic Republic's nuclear advances, with its stock of uranium enriched to 60%, having lowered the breakout time for a bomb to 3 weeks' time. And while Iran has dismissed these alarming reports as baseless, the United States, which is eager to revive the so-called JCPOA, highlighted that it was the root cause for its determination to reach an agreement.
We have never sought to insinuate that a mutual return to compliance of the JCPOA will address every single activity that we find problematic that Iran undertakes, that it will address every single one of those. But what we do know is that an Iran with a nuclear weapon makes all of these problems a lot worse. And that is why we continue to believe that a mutual return to compliance of the JCPOA will put restraints on Iran's nuclear program. It is in the best national security interest of this country, and it will offer steps towards regional stability as well. But I will also note that President Biden and this administration are not going to re-enter a deal that is not in the national security interest of the United States. But also, it's important to note that this is an extraordinarily complex set of issues. We're continuing to study the response, work closely with our allies and partners, including our E3 partners. It is, as I said, unfortunate that Iran's step took us backwards, but we're continuing to work through this process. So we continue to seek a full implementation of the JCPOA precisely because of Iran's nuclear activities like the ones that you described. And under a JCPOA, Iran's nuclear activities would be strictly limited and fully monitored by the IAEA. As you said, and as the IAEA report indicated, Iran now has a substantial amount of highly enriched uranium for which it has no credible civilian use. But in a mutual return to full implementation of the JCPOA, Iran would need to get rid of all of its enriched uranium stockpile, aside from the limits that were laid out in the JCPOA.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. It is important for us to highlight that TV7 Israel is a donation-based ministry. Therefore, if you're blessed by our productions, please consider making a financial contribution that in turn will enable us to sustain our ongoing operations. Additionally, I would like to encourage you to pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'Mevorach, and we will see you again on Monday at the same time.